just to kind of reassure them and get them acclimatized to the noise and the feeling of the wax being removed. And after that, they settled really, really well. And that was key, especially in the right ear. Now, the right ear, if you think this left ear is bad, wait till you see the right ear. So do stay tuned. The right ear was really, really impacted, and we had to get wax off the drum. And we were only able to do that because the patient was really, really still. And you can see the suction probe just about fits into the ear. So the diameter of the suction probe is around 2.2, 2.3 millimeters. The internal diameter, so this open space within inside the suction probe, is 2 millimeters. And we've managed to remove all these plugs out. Oh, no, we've got one more plug there. And you can just see the eardrum hiding in the distance, in the background. And you can tell by these wax plugs, they're quite hard. They had been using oil prior to attending. And the colour, because they're so dark, it's been there for a while, it's oxidised. And nice, healthy eardrum. They were really struggling at school to hear. If you've got a severe earwax impaction and you're still at that age where you're acquiring your speech and language skills, impacted earwax can cause issues because they can, in particular, attenuate, so reflect our high frequency sounds. And they're the syllables, they're the phonemes, the beginnings and endings of words. And it's very important that, especially with children, during that early, well, for everyone really, but more so for children whilst they're acquiring their speech and language skills, that they're able to hear optimally. So this is the patient's right ear. And again, it's a very, very narrow ear canal entrance. You'll expect that with children. So I'm stretching open the cartilage portion of the ear to the left and upwards to straighten it, which then allows access for the suction probe to be inserted. Now, this boulder of wax was really large, it's really impacted, and I think it came out in 3 or 4 or even 5 pieces. So I'm just at the base of the ear canal here. I'm trying to lift this up, and you can see there's very minimal space to work with because the children, obviously, their ear canals are still maturing, they're still getting longer and larger. It's very limited space to work with inside. A fine end suction gauge probe 18 wouldn't work because it just wasn't powerful enough. You will see a bit later on in this right ear, when I managed to extract this wax forwards and almost out of the ear, it got trapped at the entrance. And at that stage, I would love to have used an ear hook or even forceps. But as soon as I leaned over to grab my ear hook and forceps, the child wasn't impressed and, and they didn't want that anywhere near their ear. So we just persevered with the suction, and they tolerated this really, really well. Now, whenever I've got children attending the clinic, and this could be a tip for other audiologists or clinical ear care specialists, to put them at ease, because this endoscope, it is a 5 centimetre probe, and it has to be that length, so we've got the correct distance where we can put the instrument into the ear without it knocking the side of the endoscope. We call that the working length. I always start off by saying, well, we're going to take a video of your ears. Now, it's going to tickle ever so slightly, but you've got to promise me you don't laugh and giggle too much. And immediately, I find it puts them at ease, and it worked really well with this patient. And even during the procedure, I always say to them, I always start off with the suction on their hand so they know what it feels like. I then put the suction probe against the tip of their nose and the side of their cheek and on their earlobe, so they feel this suction effect. And a lot of them obviously find it quite funny and amusing. And then before I commence again, I always say to the child, again, just remember, you've got to stay nice and still like a scarecrow, like a statue. And try not to laugh too much when I'm vacuuming your ear. And they really, really, I find that the majority anyway, they condition very well to that. They almost see it like a game, and they want to obviously be cooperative, and it worked really, really well. And you can imagine this impaction, how deep and impacted it is. Even for adults, it would have probably been slightly, I don't know if uncomfortable is the word, but they would have been aware of me in their ear with the suction probe right up against their eardrum. So I'm just at the top of the ear canal now. I'm trying to bring this downwards, but you can see, because the wax is so hard, at first I wasn't able to get a suction grip because the surface of the wax was quite, it's so hard. It needs to be a bit softer when you get a suction grip. And it was bouncing backwards and forwards, but I managed to get a suction grip in the end, and I brought the top of the wax downwards. And as I brought it downwards, it's coming away from the eardrum towards the entrance. And it's just at the second bend here. We're just going to wriggle this through. You can see the endoscope's just positioned at the entrance of the ear where the hairs are. They're just in view. And with this child's ear, you have to bring it up, because when you enter the ear, there's a steep decline of the ear canal. So the ear canal is going downwards and to the left. So I'm having to bring this from left to right and from bottom upwards to bring it out of the ear. So I'm going to try to lift this up now. But the wax plug was so coarse and hard, it's really, really hard to get a suction grip at times. And at this stage, I would love to have just used an ear hook, just to glide it in at the top of the ear canal, in and behind the wax, rotate the hook clockwise, get the tip embedded either into the core of the earwax plug or behind it and slowly bring it forwards. But as I mentioned, she wasn't going to allow me anywhere near her ear with an ear hook, so we had to persevere. Again, so the endoscope's actually not in the ear at the moment. I'm holding it almost freestyle. I'm resting it against the tragus. We call this the tragal technique. We just rest it against this. So tragus is a piece of flappy cartilage just before the entrance of your ear canal. You can also get ear piercings there, tragal piercings. And we're just resting the side of the endoscope against the tragal cartilage just to stabilise it. And I'm angling it towards the entrance of the ear. It's such a tight squeeze, it's just playing hard to get. I think this plug breaks up into 3 or 4 pieces because it's such a large plug, if I'm correct. So I'm trying to roll this out now. But this is where it can go wrong accidentally. I pushed it back into the ear. So I brought it all the way out to the entrance. And then in an attempt to release it from out of the ear, it went back down the hole almost, down the ear canal. So we're going to try again. Again, just bring it forwards. We're almost there. I think this breaks up into a little piece. There we are, that's going to detach itself. So the ear canal diameter inside the ear is wider and bigger than the diameter of the entrance. So we're bringing a larger piece of wax through a narrow entrance, which can make it a bit difficult. They've been using loads of drops previous to attending. Drops may have helped, but again, I just didn't, because it's the hairs and because it's a narrow ear, it can get a bit blurry sometimes. So I was just trying to avoid using drops wherever possible. And there we are, that's the patient's eardrum, intact, healthy. They could hear significantly better, and that's all the wax from both ears. It's quite a big haul there, quite a significant haul, as you can imagine.